No, we don't need a quorum.
Oh, good, let's just.
You can take it. You're welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Let me say that Miss Rivers, who is our president, called me, and she had an appointment that she could not, so she will not be here. We do have Mrs. Reeves, Mr. Stark, and myself, and we get started. We do expect Mr. Taylor, who, as most of you know, is at the fundraiser trying to make some money so she can become permanent council lady. And if you don't want to give anything to help her become that, don't. But that's it. Tonight we will take the police and fire, public safety and fire division. There has been a change in the schedule. Next, the 22nd, recreation will be here, and on the 23rd, which is the next day, economic development, and the final one will be on the 28th for the council, Citizen Budget Advisory Committee, and the feedback from the others. So that's sort of the wrap-up meeting that we'll have. As I recall, these are somewhat informal, and we like to ask a few questions regarding proposals. The budget process, before we get it, before the council gets it, has been that the administration itself talked to all the administrators, and they state what they think they need to run the department for a year. And that hopefully reflected here in dollar values. The police department and the fire division is our largest expenditure section. We have had some objections to the expenditure because it amounts to a little over one half, about 51%, as I recall the number, that the taxpayers themselves pay for police and fire. My personal opinion is that they do a good job. We have some problems here in Plainfield in the past that has been somewhat resolved, and I'm pleased to say the last police report, we did not have any homicides, as I recall. I don't think that changed, did it, Mr. Riley?
That's correct, no homicides this year.
Yeah. Last year, I think we had 9. We are not in the situation as, say, Patterson and Jersey City and Trenton and all of those with gangland murders. And hopefully we can keep it that way, and so far, I think we are. So, Mr. Storch, if you want to start with your questions, you have any? I know you do.
I do, but don't we want to start with the presentation from the department?
I'm ready.
Well, that's a good idea. I guess I'm supposed to read this. President to announce. Notice requirements provided for the open public meeting law has been satisfied. Notice was properly given. Said notice having been transmitted to the Curry News and the Star Ledger on Tuesday, April 8th, 2014, as well as being posted on the bulletin board in City Hall. And I guess I need a roll call. I don't need a roll call. We know who's here, okay? This evening, the Plainfield Municipal Council will conduct its budget deliberations, I like that word, on the 2014 calendar year municipal operating budget. This session is scheduled from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, about 2 hours, inclusive to discuss the following: Department of Public Affairs and Safety, Police Division, and Fire Division. 3, the public comments during the portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the city of Plainfield. A total of 60 minutes have been allocated to all public comments to be presented. If you wish to be heard, give your name and address to the clerk for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject as well as the amount of any single speaker is allowed will be limited to 5 minutes. And 4, I guess that will be the adjournment. So now, since this is somewhat informal, we'll have a presentation. You want to go first, or the fire division, or what?
Yeah, let the fire division go first,
Okay.
so talking, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Reed. Good evening, everyone. My name is Frank Tidwell. I'm the Plainfield Fire Chief, and I'm glad to be here to present the budget for 2014. My job as the Fire Chief is to educate, to sell, to market my budget and our delivery of service. This presentation is going to basically be a quick presentation of what our... Testing, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me now? This presentation is basically going to give you a quick walkthrough, a synopsis of what the fire department does, how we spend our money, what purchases we make, and where are our expenses. But before we do that, we want to basically educate you on what the fire department is all about. Our mission statement. We live by our mission statement. Our mission statement states the Plainfield Fire Division is an emergency service organization that is committed to defending life and property in the community from the threat of fire, explosions, environmental disasters, hazards, and other emergencies as they occur. Our obligation and dedication to accomplish the mission is by providing the citizens with public fire education. Underscore that, fire education. Fire prevention inspections, fire investigations, fire confinement and extinguishment, hazardous incident mitigation, training, and safety. That is our mission statement. Deputy Chief Courtney and I have brought on 18 new firefighters. One of their assignments was learn our mission statement so you know why we're here and what we do. We are a very diverse department. We consist of 102 employees. Currently, our organizational strength requires 108, so we have 6 vacancies within the fire department. This is our main headquarters. This is on Central and 4th. This is fire headquarters. It comprises of 7 bays. This is Engine 3 station. It's located on the west end of town on Bergen Street, comprised of 2 bays. This is Engine 4 station. This station is on the Historic Preservation Register. It's 127 years old, built in 1887. It's time to replace it. I was so glad when I saw Mr. West present the introductory budget and how he presented it. It brought it to life, because he put the numbers on a board that we could look at and see the scale and the columns and the circles and the pies. Well, I'm putting this before you. This station is too old for the city of Plainfield. We are the Queen City. It's time for us to move up. In order for us to accomplish our mission, we have to replace our staffing. If vacancies are created, we have to hire. Last year, we hired 8 new firefighters. The year before that, we hired 10. And we have an older fire department. We are constantly needing to replace firefighters that have retired. In order to have accountability and supervision, we have to have promotions. We have to make promotions within the ranks. We have new lieutenants, new captains, and new battalion chiefs. This happened last year, one of the major fires in the city of Plainfield on West Front Street. This is why we need proper staffing. This is why we need proper officers who know how to supervise, who know how to have accountability on the fire ground. This happened in 2012, 2.5-story single-family house. This happened about 3 o'clock in the morning. We need proper staffing. When we're not fighting fires, what are we doing? Public fire education. We're doing our annual fire prevention fair every year in the month of October. And that allows us to educate the public. It allows us to give out Hispanic flyers. It allows us to give out flyers in dealing with emergency preparedness, how to have a get-out kit if something should happen. We give out flashlights. We bring the kids together in partnership with DPW, and we give out hot dogs and hamburgers. We just have cotton candy, and we have a blast. We have over 200-some children that come every year, and this is growing. So this is part of our public fire education. What else do we do? We go into the schools. Well, let me back up first. We are a very inclusive community. This is the Plainfield Center for Islamic Enlightenment. They partnered with us doing our fire prevention fair, and we had a blast. The children getting their faces painted. We had games for them to play. Now this is at Evergreen School. Evergreen School, the children came out and our firefighters showed them the apparatus. We were able to show them the hose, the axes, show them what firefighters do. And we had one of our firefighters actually doing that. Stop, and what is the middle one? Drop. Stop, drop, and roll. Many of us was taught that when we were children, they're in danger. But they stop, they drop, and they roll. You save a life. So this is firefighter Corey sharing that with the children. Because we are such a community-involved fire department, actually our mantra is OCM, our community matters. We had this month, Autism Awareness Month. At the fire station, we had a specialist come in and teach our firefighters about autism awareness. And the Honorable Mayor Mapp came out to show support for the firefighters. This is at Covenant Manor. We entertain the senior citizens. We love the senior citizens. We give them a comedy show. We started out with 1. Guess how many we do now? 2 a year. Because why? Plainfield Tower West, Cedarwood Park got upset. Said, wait a minute, you leaving us out. So we had to increase our comedy shows. The firefighters do this on their own. They cook, they volunteer, they bring in comedians from Philadelphia to show how much we care about our community. Last year, one of our residents, dog in Cedarwood Park, fell through the ice. Guess who rescued them? Firefighters like these who train. We believe in training. That's part of our mission. We train our firefighters. We have firefighters who are on the USAR team. Firefighters who are able to do high rescue, angle rescue. And these firefighters are training in South Plainfield at Spring Lake on how to rescue someone trapped on the ice. We have tours within our fire station. Our main headquarters station, we get over about maybe 2,000 kids a year to come through for tours in the fire station. Our firefighters love to show them how we fight fires and what we do with the fire station, in the fire station. Our desire is to start a cadet fire academy. Reach them today, for they are our replacement tomorrow. That is our goal. Now let's talk about the wedding. I engaged your minds. We went through the engagement. Let's talk about the wedding. Our budget, our total budget for this year, for 2014, is $10,033,926. The calendar year for this year budget is $10 million. Last year it was $9,862,289.95. An increase of only $171,000. The fire division uses a line item budget. There's either a zero budget or a line item format. We use the line item. In the line item that you have in your packages, it shows dedicated lines or codes for various purchases, or should I say various accounts. The first one deals with salaries. The next one deals with overtime, holiday pay. Some of our line items are fixed costs. Some of them are variable costs. Salary and wages for 2014, $8,745,735. Overtime, this is what was budgeted, this is what has been approved in the executive budget. $396,841. Our operational costs, in other words, other expenses within the fire division, what has been approved by the administration is $339,250. Overtime stats, and I know this is a big concern with the taxpayers. It is also my concern. Why? Because we want to be able to keep it down. And the best way to keep it down is to be properly staffed and to have enough people where you can have scheduled absences and still be able to run your department without calling in additional personnel. In 2012, we were budgeted for $500,000. We're going down in that. $500,000. Previous year, $500,000. We spent $645,445.02. We exceeded that budget by $145,000. In 2013, we were budgeted. It went down because we brought down the overtime. We went down to $396,841. That's how much we were budgeted. We spent $464,433.66. We exceeded our budget, but only by $67,592.66. This year, we're budgeted the same. The administration wants us to keep a tight ship. But we don't know how much we're going to spend. It's undetermined. My goal is to keep it under $500,000. And the reason why, fiscal responsibility must begin in Plainfield. We are the stewards of the taxpayers' money. We can't afford to waste it, misuse it, or misappropriate it. My goal is to reach that. It's going to be difficult. But Rod, if you help me out, we can make this happen. Operating expenses. Preventive maintenance. This is something that I'm so glad that the administrator saw that we needed to do. This is a line item that we created this year. We didn't have a line item that was dedicated to preventive vehicle maintenance. We needed to be able to get our vehicles in. We want to do shared services with the county, basically getting our cars, our SUVs, and our pickup trucks serviced so that we can prevent major breakdowns. Because you saw the hiring, 18 new hirees, we have to increase our uniforms. So we asked for an increase of $10,000. Last year was $50,000. This year we're asking for $60,000. Our tires, because tires are going up and they're more expensive, it was $7,500 last year. We're asking for $11,000 this year. And that's what happens when somebody tries to call you when you give them your presentation. The next slide. And that is it. I am done. Any questions? Any concerns?
Of course, we all have concerns, and I'll let Mr. Stokes start first.
Thank you for the excellent presentation. Just looking at some of the numbers. According to these numbers, your goal for overtime is $396,000. You stated as to keep it under $500,000. Do you have a difference with the administration?
No, that's what was allotted. That's what they approved. The administration approved that we were wishing to have more, but they're saying that we're in a tight ship. So we wanted more, but we only got $396,000. That $396,000 is the same amount we got last year. But we exceeded it last year, so we expect to exceed it again this year. But we're going to try to keep it under $500,000. Last year we did. We're going to try again this year.
Okay, so that was my question, and I don't think you answered it. Your stated goal is to keep it under $500,000.
Yes.
But you're an entity of the city. The city's goal is $396,000 of the administration.
That's what they put in that account. And they're saying to the fire chief, don't overdraw, don't have an overdraft in that account.
So do you have a plan to meet their goal?
Last year we didn't meet it. We exceeded by $67,000. This year, we may be able to come close, but I doubt it because we have more retirements coming up. And because we're not being able to hire this year come June, then we're going to see an increase, an influx in the overtime, probably around August.
Is that because you can't bring people on, like any particular week, it has to be around?
Yeah, there's certain times that the fire academy is open that we can hire people. So we have $396,000 allocated, approved by the administration. Now, we can either try to stay within that budget, that allotment, or we're going to exceed it. I predict we will exceed it, but I'm saying I'm going to work my hardest.
But the retirements would happen all during the year, right?
Yes.
So the increases in overtime, could they be offset by decreases in salaries because people are leaving early? You'll have vacancies in the year.
Well, some of them are retiring, but they're taking terminal leave. That means they are still in the books to the end of the year.
Well, that answered that question. The acting pay is also up. I mean, it's the same budget number, but you spent $136,000 last year, but you're budgeting for $225. So how do you account for that?
All right, well, the reason, last year we were under the $225,000 that was put in the budget for acting pay. This year, we probably will exceed that because of the retirements. We have a lot of retirements coming up. Actually, my deputy chief just retired. I got another battalion chief retiring. So we got a lot of retirements coming up, and a lot of firefighters have retired. So that's going to create more acting positions. Plus, we're in some negotiations in regards to something that the city administrator will probably talk about directly later on.
I think that's it for my questions on the numbers.
All right, it's 7:29, so we're moving right along.
I'm gonna allow my colleagues to continue, because I may have a couple of questions on the goals and objectives, but you guys should.
Yes.
I wanted to ask about the comp time. The comp time here for 2012, 2013 was 21,
Yes.
490, and this year you're requesting 99.5.
Yes. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And I found that a little unsure of. Last year, every year we have firefighters that retire or that cash in their compensatory time, their comp time. Some of them have more than others because they allow it to, for us to be kept for years without cashing it in. If they retire, they can ask to be paid their full amount. Or if around Christmas time, they want a portion of it, they can ask to be paid. We're going to see that comp time go up a lot because of the firefighters having, far as being able to have more in their bank account, as far as compensatory time. Many times, guys, instead of taking overtime money, they'll take comp time and put it aside to use to save for Christmas.
The other one, well, you did explain that a little bit, the 10 for the uniforms.
Yes.
Do you think there's any way you could pare that back down to, say, 50?
No, we hired 18 new firefighters. We hired 10 last year. We hired 8 the previous year. And those new firefighters have to have special type of clothing that's fire retardant. Plus, it also includes the maintenance of their gear. And that is going to be more. The price that we had the previous year, we didn't have those firefighters. So because we have increased our staffing, we have to increase our uniforms, the purchases of the uniforms, and those costs go up every year. So it's going to be very difficult. And if you look at our total budget, we only increased our budget by $173,000.
That's it for me for now.
Okay, you were increasing your budget by $173,000. 71,637, according, if we take the administration's request of 10,033,926, you requested 10,394. Is that going to work for you?
We did request more. We proposed our budget, and the administration can either accept our proposal or they can modify it. They chose to modify it. I understand we are dealing with an economy that's not the same as it was when we were flourishing back in the 80s and the 90s. What may happen, but I'm going to remain optimistic by not getting the monies that we requested, as far as being able to hire more firefighters. And that was our intentions, the reason why we were asking for more money, to be able to hire more firefighters as these vacancies become prevalent.
I'm astonished at the difference between 2011 and now. 2011, you spent $4,883,915.
That was the transitional year.
Okay,
And
so
with the transitional year, thanks to Lisa Marco, I was able to get a grasp on that.
so this is
Yes.
transition years,
Yes.
half of what was spent
Exactly.
per year. Last year, totally, you spent $9,561,899. So what you're saying is that that wasn't enough? You gonna need the difference? What is that, about 400,000 plus?
It's about 500 plus.
What if you don't get that?
We will survive.
Okay, because the charge that I've received from a lot of residents, and I was surprised at the concern, is that we have to find ways of reducing costs in this crazy system we have. And one of them say that sometimes we live above our level. The ratables are going down. It's probably more work for you because you got more vacant houses and more people doing it. However, if we continue to raise the budget, that means that the taxpayers will have to pay more. We have to find ways to match what we think we're going to receive for ratables as it stands now without increasing that budget expenditure. How many men do you have?
We currently have 102. We have 6 vacancies. I'm projecting probably another 8 this year.
So that brings you up to 110.
That should bring us up to 108. We have 102. We have 6 vacancies now.
You say you anticipated 8.
Another 8.
Yeah, so that's bringing you up to 110 men. And that's split between how many shifts you run?
Run 4 shifts.
And are you equally manning the 4 shifts, or if I divide 4 into 110, that means that
Some of these employees are also staff. We have 2 bureaus. We have suppression, and then we have the fire prevention bureau. So the shifts are manned based on suppression personnel. And we have civilian employees are also included in that 102.
Okay, if you did not get an increase, I understand that you get cooperation from other cities if you have a problem, and you feed it back to them. If you didn't get the extra men, and you didn't get an increase in your amount of money you can spend, can you say to Plainfield or Piscataway or one of the people that assist us when we have major problems, can you say to them, look, my mother is out, would you come over and help us out? Even though it may be a small fire, you get the aid when you have a larger fire, correct?
Yes, you're absolutely correct. We have a mutual aid pact. That mutual aid pact allows us to be able to share services. We're sharing services based on the fact that we're able to give.
Okay.
If we can't give, then we won't receive. So we have to keep it balanced. And that balance is not just with South Plainfield and North Plainfield, but throughout the Union County area. And that has also reduced our overtime, I would say several $100,000.
Just the shared service.
Yes, with the mutual aid pack. We have received a CIP. We purchased a brand new pumper, heavy duty rescue. It's called a MVP, a multi-vocational pumper. This is going to allow us, if it works out, it's a pilot program. If it works out the way we want it to work out, this is going to allow us to reduce our budget even more as we move forward in the new years.
Well, you just purchased that. When do you expect to get the new pumper?
Deputy?
It's almost a year for the
Okay, and what did we recently approved another unit for you, or?
The one you're speaking of, we got that already. That's on the road working, has been Christian, it's been at fires. That's the one we received from FEMA with a $335,000 grant. The one that we have that's now being put together is from our CIP of 2012 or 2013. 2012.
Are there any items in the budget that can be reduced by grants here?
Grants are only based on earnest intent of the department or the municipality. And that earnest intent means sometimes we have to invest money. In order for us to, say, get a grant for a new fire station, the city has to show earnest intent to want to build a fire station. They either have to have the land, have a blueprint, have a plan, and willing to show earnest intent to build a fire station. Once that's done, once we do a feasibility study and we have the blueprint, we have the architect, in other words, we're ready to break ground, then we can ask for a grant, and then the federal government sees our earnestness and will provide.
What city recently got, I think it's 3.
That was Linden. Linden built 3 fire stations. Actually, they built 2 and they renovated 1. They got $25 million from the Union County Improvement Association.
Okay, is it your intent to go through with the process?
Yes, it is. We're right now holding the bands, I think 1256 CIP that has $70,000 that Mr. Eric Jackson, who's acting city administrator, allocated for a feasibility study for a new fire station. And once that's done, we have the earnest intent, we can start moving forward with where we want to build it at. It's going to reduce our ISO rating, Insurance Service Organization rating. It's going to allow taxes to go down for our residents. Also, it will allow us to be able to get our brand new fire trucks in the station. Also, we have a dual gender fire department now. At one time it was only men. Now we have a female and we have one more about to come on. A dual gender fire department, and we don't have the capability to accommodate our female firefighters. That's got to change. We got to move. We want to build new buildings and we want to bring business into the city. We also need to improve our infrastructure.
I understand that you'll have to do a lot to the headquarters that's on Central and
Yes, that's in our
You don't
CIP.
have any lady facilities down there?
No, we don't.
What are your plans if you don't get the money to do a new station to bring it up to par?
Well, with CIP, hopefully we'll be able to move forward with that. I'm sure the city administrator is going to take that into consideration.
Now, we just approved the application, I guess it was an expenditure of $47,000 for all types of new equipment.
Yes, that's in the CIP.
Okay. Will that satisfy your new equipment?
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. My deputy did an outstanding job researching the proper tools, the new technology, the new type of equipment that will allow our firefighters to be able to perform extrication. The tools are lighter, they're more faster, and they're more maintenance-free.
Are you getting any fire calls regarding electrical fires based upon the old Federal Pacific, I think it was, circuit breakers which doesn't break? I just had one in my house. I had to change because the insurance regulations do it. And they say that fires are caused by the circuit breaker not breaking when it's supposed to.
Properly, yeah.
Do we still have a lot of homes in Plainfield that have that condition? And are we getting a lot of calls from you guys regarding that problem? And can we publicize that they should go in, everyone should change that circuit breaker box?
I can't answer that right now, but I can look into that and get back to you.
Okay, that would be a suggestion I made, because I was astounded. The insurance inspector said, boy, you got a dangerous situation here. You need to change it, and it cost me a little money to change it so I can get the insurance, but I feel a little safer, and I just realized that. All right, I think
742.
you're may have to live with less money somehow, and we'll talk about that when we get to the final numbers that we're gonna have to have.
Thank you, sir.
Because
don't go
there's
yet.
no money left. Don't go yet, Mr. Stark?
Oh, yeah, I have a question about the shifts. And the question is, the system we use for firefighter shifts, is it the most effective? And just start by explaining, like, how many days in a month does the average firefighter actually work?
You are going to get me in trouble.
Okay.
But I will
Don't
come.
blame it on me, I asked the question.
Yeah.
I've been with the city of Plainfield 34 years. I've seen the shift when it was 10-hour shifts, 3 days on, 3 days off. I've been working now with the new shift of 24 hours, which is 24 hours on and 72 off. That allows the firefighters to only work 8 days out of the month. I've seen the effect it has had on the serviceability, the productivity, and the dedication as the fire chief. I would love to see something done about that in the future through basically collective bargaining.
And that's where, Mr. Chairman, since we are in the middle of negotiating labor agreements with all of our unions, and this will become a labor issue, I'd like to kind of stop the conversation now as we start negotiating the contracts. I mean, it's a fair enough question to find out how often they're working. What we're going to do about that is a matter of negotiation.
Fair enough. So 8 days,
It still works out to 42 hours a week.
Yeah, they still work
2,080
they're
hours a
working,
year.
they're literally working a 24-hour shift.
Right.
That's most of the states doing that.
And again, we're going to be discussing that in negotiations, which are ongoing.
So I will leave that alone.
Okay.
Any other questions? I would like
Good
to.
luck on negotiations. It sounds like I don't know if I'd want somebody coming to my house who's been up for 23 hours.
Well, I must say the firefighters are still doing an excellent and outstanding job. They do get a chance to take a nap between, running and making calls. But
Well, I could understand why they would want to work those shifts, because they could sleep through part of it. Right.
But they are committed. They are the elite guardians of the city of Plainfield, and I'm very proud of the firefighters who work for the city of Plainfield. Thank you very much.
The other complaint I get on the fire department, police department, even in city hall, is that it seems like we're top-heavy on managers. You got a lot of lieutenants, you got a lot of fire captains, and so forth and so on. Have you looked at that in an honest way to say, can we cut out 4 or 5 lieutenants, which are $98,000 plus jobs? The captains are getting to 100 and some thousand. Is there any way to reduce the number of higher officials, and are they higher officials in the sense that I would take them as supervisors and guardians of directions?
Councilman Reed, I can say this, that Mr. Rowley and I have discussed this, and we do have a plan in place, but right now that's part of collective bargaining, so we would like to table that.
All right, so next year we may be able to see something less than that. Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Testing.
All right, good evening, how you doing? My name's Carl Riley. I'm the Director of Public Safety as well as Police. Chief Tidwell handled the Fire Division budget. I'm going to handle the Police Division budget at this time. 2013, when we go back, the Police Division's budget was a total of $15,591,000, 187.72. This year, the Police Division's budget, I'm recommending $15,366,914.09, which is a decrease, again, I'm going to repeat, a decrease in the budget of $224,000, 273. In addition, 2013 overtime budget was $1,277,943.07. This year, overtime, we're concentrating on reducing it down to $890,000, which I'm calling for in the budget. Presently, the police department stable organization calls for 146 police officers. Right now, currently, we're at a staff of 140 police officers. That includes a recent retirement. By the end of the year, based upon this budget process as well as hiring, I should be up to a staff of 144 officers. And again, that's encompassed in that budget that I'm proposing of $15,366,914. Again, a difference of $224,000 decrease from last year. Currently, the police division consists of the patrol unit, support division, admin division, investigation division, and professional standards / internal affairs. Within the police division, we restructured. I know we had an abundance of lieutenants that were hired last year or promoted last year. However, it was kind of a blessing in disguise for me at this stage because we were able to restructure the police department, redeploy these men and women for better accountability and supervision. So as a result, overtime is down, crime's down about 5% this quarter in comparison to last quarter. So I do have a more efficient, effective patrol division that's out working together in proper, adequate supervision. So that's what I did to redeploy. In looking at last year's budget, in comparison to this year's, I did do some miscellaneous cuts to bring that cost down, such as the acting pay, which is, again, the lieutenants, which come into play, which I'll have reduced in the acting pay. In addition, prisoner food, I was able to reduce some of that cost due to the county sheriff's department comes up, picks up and transports in a more timely fashion. Maintenance agreements, uniforms, and vehicle maintenance. Captain Saltus, here he runs the support division and subsequently will be running the admin division as well. He has come up with a great pre-maintenance plan that's kind of helping our patrol vehicles catch some things early on in dealing with the mechanics as opposed to letting things break first, then we pay for it at a later date in time. So that's the efficient and accountability that we're trying to bring back to the police department to get things moving forward. We've been working with the county to increase some grant funding to not utilize some of the city resources that unfortunately we don't have. I've also been working with the county for special law funding to purchase certain things that we don't have funding for, such as new police radios, GPS in the vehicles that I'm going to be looking for additional accountability, as well as some accreditation for new policy and procedures. I'm also working on some citywide cameras to hopefully help this process move a little bit forward to help the city a little bit safer. In terms of citywide cameras, we're working with the capital improvement fund and some other funds, and outside, and hopefully will reduce the cost of the city that's in this budget here. So I'm still going to work every effort to keep overtime down, to keep reduction down, with hiring more police officers and police dispatchers and police aides, which unfortunately I have some police officers assigned there, which are not adequately staffed, but it's costing a little overtime, but I'm keeping it to a minimum, so that these dispatchers, as well as police aides, that I'm going to be able to hire, is encompassed in this budget with a reduction of $224,000 compared to last year, to be able to get more police officers on the street deployed properly. That's my budget, thank you.
Mr. Bushard, you want to start now?
Sure. Actually, you've answered the questions I had about the budget numbers, but I do have a few other questions. Where does the accredit, I know we're going for accreditation, where does that show up as a cost? Is it in here somewhere?
Now, accreditation's on here, special law funding, that's coming out of
Oh, that's right.
special law. However, there'll be a recurring cost for software, probably like $6,000 a year that I can budget, and some training things that, again, that I can budget next year, but if not, I'll cover that with special law funds.
Okay. The cameras,
Yes.
you know, having been on the council for a number of years, we've been talking about surveillance cameras for virtually the whole time I've been on. So I'm thinking close to 10 years.
Right.
And we still don't have any surveillance cameras. So, and now you're bringing it up again. So can you explain when, you know, is there a hard and fast date that we're going to start to see some of these cameras, and what kinds of barriers are preventing us from implementing those surveillance
I'm
cameras?
gonna have Captain Saltis talk about it. He's my main point person on this project. He's been doing a good job, and we vetted out the system, and we're really moving forward with this process, and we've been working on a weekly basis to move things forward.
Captain Stephen Saltis from the Police Division. I'm sure if you're aware, but last year, actually probably a year and a half ago, we started construction in our 911 center. We built a room to house the CCTV and move offices out of that space into another adjoining space. So the room was constructed. It wasn't completed until the beginning of this year. Director Riley was a key element in finalizing that. We had some payment problems with the architect and the builder that were overcome and were resolved with our new administration. So the room has now been signed off on and finalized. We're now working with a current vendor that did the North camera systems. He's put together some budget numbers. We had already done a survey of the city, about 70 cameras, just overall to see what was going to be required on the wireless side of the network. So since then, we've put together a plan for about 20 cameras. We're putting a budget together right now, and we'll be moving towards the funding portion of that in order to get them in. Hopefully early summer, if the funding comes through and approvals, we'll start rolling out phase one of 20 cameras.
When would they actually be operational, according to your plan?
Well, we're working on the budget now, so we don't have a fixed firm date, but the director has been very, moving the project forward at a rapid pace. We're expecting some numbers, it's either tomorrow or early next week, from two of the vendors in order to finalize the numbers. At that point, once we establish the funding, we'll be able to give actually a firmer date. We're hoping within the next couple of months that we'll have it to you for approval and to start the project, and then they should go in within 60 days or so.
So is this grant funded, or is it CIP or operations?
Now,
Yeah, it's gonna be a combination of grant funding, if not special law funding, in addition to some funding from
UEZ.
UEZ funding possibility.
Okay, so that's good to hear.
On top of that, the grant that we spoke about at the council, that we just had approval to move forward on that one, we've included in that grant funding for, we don't have a number of cameras yet. The goal is about 20 cameras, but we won't know until we flesh out all the costs for the other partners that are in the grant programs. So we have certain fixed costs that we'll have built into there, but then we're going to have a certain amount in there to add to the cameras in that crime zone that we've determined through our hotspot maps.
Just roughly speaking, where are these cameras going?
A lot of the cameras are gonna go downtown, okay, and some additional cameras are gonna go in some area, high crime target areas that we've isolated at this point. However, that can change. You know,
Now,
that can change.
Are you able to share locations with the council and the public?
Yes, we will be able to do that. Right now, we're still working on the system to determine those locations. In addition, we're gonna have a mobile camera where we can take a mobile camera and place that around certain areas as well.
And how about the staffing for, I guess, there's going to be a room where the monitors will be set up, somebody will have to be there to see what's going on. how is that going to be staffed, and is that included in this budget?
That's including this budget, because I can use the police officers, that when I go up to 144, with the proper deployment, adequate supervision that I have, and hold my supervisors accountable to make sure everybody's doing their job, there shouldn't be a problem being able to take a police officer off the road and have him or her monitor cameras if necessary. In addition, I have some other individuals, maybe 2 or 3 individuals, that are on light duty at times. Somebody gets hurt and hurts their shoulder, I can rotate them in through that process as well.
Okay, and I know that some of the merchants have surveillance camera service, and I know they've talked about collaborating with the police department so that the police could actually do surveillance on their camera system as well. Is that on your radar screen?
Correct. What we want to do is build our base model first, then build out. We're going to work with the schools, get access to their outside cameras as well as
New Jersey
New
Transit.
Jersey Transit for the train stations, and I guess the housing, Plainfield housing. That's going to be, phases as we go.
And as was mentioned at the recent council meeting, the Liberty Village project, that the developers agreed to include cameras that will tie to our system.
Okay, thank you.
I see here, how many police, what's the number of policemen that is in your whole unit right now?
140 right now that we have. Yes, ma'am.
I see you have quite a few vacancies here. Are these going to be replaced, or can we work without, how many are you going to be adding? How much do you need to bring it up to par?
We call for 146, but however, with this budget, we're going to go up to 144. And again, if you look, it's a difference of $224,000 less than last year. And I'm going to be able to hire 4 additional police officers, 3 police aides, along with 3 dispatchers to be able to adequately staff and properly deploy everybody. So I'm getting more police officers and dispatchers as well for $224,000 less than last year.
That's good. All right, that's my only question for right now, actually.
Thank you.
You're gonna reduce this year's budget, 2013, by, you said 224,000?
Yes, sir.
Is that the budgeted amount for last year or the expended amount?
The spent amount last year was $15,591,187. The budget amount this year is $15,366,914.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. Reduction is what we're gonna have to address. Just one thing that always bothered me that I think we got a grant for it, I hope we did. That shot spotter thing. Are you gonna come back to us and ask us to spend some money in doing a shot spotter where we don't get a grant? I think we got a grant for the temporary time. A former director did not like the shot spotter so much. He thought it was not working properly the way they done it. Are you gonna entertain the shot spotter?
Yeah, we built that in, and what we're gonna do is that's gonna work, hopefully in conjunction with our cameras a little bit better. Shot spotters have been a little bit more accurate. Since I've come on, a lot more accurate. Captain Saltis has been working with the vendor very well. The one good thing about shot spotter, which a lot of the public doesn't realize and aware, back last November and December, some shots were fired in the west end of the town. Nobody called the police. Okay, police subsequently responded pretty quickly, and unfortunately there was a victim there, and he was shot up multiple times. They wound up saving his life. He's a paraplegic today, but unfortunately, our police saved his life. I'd hate that to be me, city resident, kid, or anybody, or something like that happen to anybody. So I think shot spotter is well worth it at this time, and hopefully working in conjunction with the cameras, if we can tie that in to try to work a little bit better, I think it's a good useful tool.
You know, I've been on the council since 2007, December, and I've heard the camera story many, many times, and nothing happened with it. It was always a little problem. I do see on Terrell Road, I guess that's the county expenditure there, that cameras are set up at the traffic lights. Are we thinking about doing traffic light cameras?
Let me explain the cameras on the traffic lights. All right, throughout the state, like Route 22 is getting overhauled now by the state, there's cameras that are put on the traffic lights. These aren't surveillance cameras. These cameras take the place, if you recall, there used to be wires in the ground where a car would go over it and it would change the cycle of the traffic light due to the traffic conditions. Well, those wires are now antiquated and they've been replaced by these cameras that are mounted on the traffic light poles. So they don't pick up video for monitoring purposes. They pick up vehicle movement in the field to change the traffic pattern for that particular intersection. If you also, their placement is not well versed for any kind of traffic surveillance, because if you notice, they work better the higher they are up, because they have to point down and look at a traffic lane. So the camera now can look at, like say Terrell Road. Terrell Road has a straight through lane and it'll have a left turn lane. So the camera will look at those two lanes, they'll segment it in software so that they'll see the left-hand turn lane versus the straight through lane, and depending on the traffic on each of those lanes, it'll vary the traffic cycle. So there's no monitoring, it's just a software mechanism for changing the light cycle.
Okay.
So
That's good.
it doesn't help us with anything. So,
And I'm not gonna tell some of my speeding people that it's well,
Everybody thinks it's like for catching speeders.
yes, they do. It works well in that advantage.
That's good. Let's see, I had one other little question here regarding your budget. Let's see if I can find it. There is talk, and Colorado has done it, Denver has done it, some other places, reducing or making marijuana legal. What's your opinion on that, starting from,
Is it a
is it
revenue
going to
source?
help or make it worse? That's my question, in your opinion.
It's funny you say that because Tuesday and Wednesday, I was down at a conference down in Washington DC, and they're kind of addressing some of this. But I'll be honest with you, I personally don't have enough information to address this at this stage. You know, I think that goes a little bit higher than me. I think a lot more research needs to be done, and some other panels need to be done. I can't comment on that.
Okay, any comment, Captain? I don't know if you're going to help or not, but my problem has always been that it's sort of ignored by the top of the people that could control it, and it's putting the burden on us. Another question as it relates that we don't have much control over, we do have about a 40% Hispanic population now. I'm not sure what the percentage of illegals are, but is that becoming a problem for the police department, that you can't report anyone that's illegal and you can't even question them, as I understand it, if you arrest someone? Is that a problem for you? And what would you recommend, if anything, that Congress or the feds do to correct the situation that I'm talking about, if you think it's a problem?
Well, since I've been here for the last, I guess, 4 months, I haven't seen any major problem. The only problems I've seen is, unfortunately, they've been more victims than aggressors. From what I've seen. And the victims have been cooperative, no major issues. But from an investigative standpoint, I haven't seen any issues, you know, right now. But that's something that I'll look into and explore. And if it becomes an issue, I'll be working closely with U.S. Customs to work out. I know Customs was here the other day. They do operations within the city at times. It's on a federal level that I'm privy to afterward, or sometimes, depending on what type of involvement they need. It might be law enforcement sensitive, where I can't divulge what's going on. But it has not been a major issue as far as I'm aware. And Captain Salters, you can chime in as well if you like.
I agree with the director, it has been an issue for us. I mean, for an illegal alien that's actually arrested, we have mechanism and policy in place to do certain things depending on the degree of the crime. Minor traffic offenses can't be dealt with, but higher crimes, we have a process that we notify the ICE and other agencies.
Okay. Let's see, I have one other question. If we were to double your cut already from 224,000, say down to 500,000, would you get assistance from Union County? And are you getting the proper assistance from Union County? And I know you came from Union County, so you probably have a little influence in that area. Is that something that could be addressed if your budget were cut further?
That's tough to say. Well, one thing I did lean on, the county was giving me some cars, some police cars that are unmarked or marked that we can utilize. So unfortunately, we don't have vehicles in our line items. We use the capital funding to purchase vehicles, but they're giving me some additional vehicles. Right now, the 224, I really don't think it's feasible that I can take a cut. I really like a cut the budget, and I think that's the top level that I can cut at this stage.
I don't think I have any other questions myself, and let's go to, yeah,
You're gonna go to
Mr.
public,
Starr.
right?
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
just
going
before
to go to the
Just one other question.
CMAC,
Yeah, I
with
forgot.
the budget advisory. Thanks.
In your overtime budget, do you have adequate funds to train police officers that have to be pulled off their shifts and then covered by other folks? And what I'm thinking specifically, and I've mentioned this to you very briefly, there's a program that's run at the police academy called Crisis Intervention Training, where a lot of police departments around the country are starting to go to this program where there's like 1 or 2 officers on each shift that are trained CIT officers. In order to become that, you have to go through a 40-hour training program, and it's all within 1 week. And there's a lot of research that shows that.
I don't necessarily have to do it with overtime funding, we can adjust the schedule accordingly,
Okay.
if need be. Or, I know they work 4 on, 4 off, and a certain amount of training hours they have to get back to the division, whether it's range or other in-service training. But Captain's office took a note here, like I said, they'll be in charge of that division soon.
I know Plainfield has a few CIT trained officers, but I don't know that we have enough. And it definitely has demonstrated much lower injury rates and death rates, both of perpetrators and police officers, because they're trained to really effectively de-escalate situations where people are either intoxicated or having an episode of mental illness, and police often are not equipped to deal with it unless they're trained in this program.
Okay, thank you, well taken, and something we'll definitely explore.
Okay. I just had one other thing. I got the same questions as it relate to top-heavy lieutenants and captains and so forth, and sergeants. You feel that that's adequate and it's a must to have that many supervisory positions for 100-something men?
Well, right now, Captain Gilliam is in the process of retiring, effective May 1st. I will not be replacing his captain's position.
Okay.
I'll be reducing down to 1 captain, which will be 4 to 5. But eventually, I may cut through attrition, but right now, for the crime control strategies, I want to put in place and accountability measures I want to put in place. I believe we have the adequate supervision needed to accomplish that. However, if that's something that later on down the road I need to change on to reduce, I have to look at that. But I have to get a good base model first to make sure the proper strategy and crime control strategies and accountability is in place at the time.
Okay. You gave a presentation at the planning board regarding the emergency room that you were presenting. How is that coming along, and is it in process? Did you get it funded and so forth and so on?
No, that portion of the CIPs hasn't been funded yet. That was scheduled for actually this year, I believe. But I'm not sure on the schedule on that, but we have meetings, I guess, starting next month on the new CIP, so as long as it stays within that realm, it could have funding by the end of the year.
Yeah, I was quite impressed with the whole idea, and I thought it was great, and to think of things like that. We have the,
Just one more.
yes, Mrs. Greaves.
As you said, Captain Gillian is going to be retiring.
Yes, ma'am.
What happens to that salary? Is that taken out, is that already out of the budget?
No, it's not in the budget.
So will there be a line item, will that money stay there?
Well, yes, it will stay there. Where I'm gonna use some of that money is unfortunately back in, part of this budget process, some of the police officers I was gonna hire, as well as dispatchers and other people were hired, I had to push it back to November, you know, to get hired, because that's when the certain academy starts, whatever. So I can use that money to fund that, to move it up, to hire them sooner rather than later, as opposed to wait until, you know, November.
Okay.
Let's see that one. The Budget Advisory Committee, who's here representing, and I understand there was a change and a person is representing someone who could not come. Okay, so do you have any questions? We
Can
start.
we just get them to identify themselves?
Yes, I was going to say, we start with the identification of who's here for the Budget Advisory, and just, you give your name and,
My name is Jenny Massey. I'm on CBC.
okay,
Joyce Wilkerson.
okay.
My name is Yvette Henry. I'm here for Lydia Jones.
What was that again, dear?
I'm here for Lydia Jones.
Oh, okay, you're the substitute for Ms.
Yes.
Jones. Are you here for good, or is this just one night?
Good and whatever.
Okay, good.
My name is Michael Horn.
Yes, Mr. Horn.
I'm budget advisor too.
We gotta pick the salary now. All right, and do you have a chairman this year, or?
We have not met. This is our first.
Yeah, all right, you haven't elected one yet. Yes,
We were
Mr.
just
Horn.
appointed Tuesday.
You're the chairman then?
He is not on.
He resigned.
Yeah, okay, so you're all equal. I'll start with whomever want to have any questions of the fire department or of the police director, and the police, public safety director can answer for the fire department as well. The question I have, are you satisfied with the budget of the fire department and the presentation and the objectives that was laid out by the captain?
Yes, yes, sir.
Good. Any one of you have any questions?
I
Yes,
have
sir.
one on the police, the 100,000 where you got the vacancy.
Yes, sir.
Where do that money, where do you put that money?
Originally, that was a planned expense back when we first budgeted this, because we were thinking about a deputy police director's position. However, unfortunately, that position's not in play anymore due to the fact, I believe it wasn't passed by civil service. It was an issue. So I was gonna use some of that funding reserve to hire some additional, dispatchers to move them up and go from there. And I know I said Captain Gilliam's salary was gonna be part of that, but I was hoping to cover some of that, but not all, because it's gonna be a 6 months pay with Captain Gilliam's salary, and use some of that other pay for that.
Is that your question? Anyone else from the budget advisory? Since you're new here tonight, you have anything?
Oh, yeah. So what was the actual budget for 2013 and 2012, if that's available?
Gone 2000, for the police division?
For the police division.
Was that for 14 million? 898.73 number?
So far. You want me to respond?
got it.
The actual expenses in 2012 were 15,604,895.70. 2013, the expenditures were 15,591,187.72.
That is your,
That answered my question.
any other comments or recommendations at this point from anyone from the public here? Let me ask one question. I've asked this all the time. How does a person become a policeman or fire? Is that controlled by the state civil service exam when they announce it? How does that work? Could you outline that for us?
That's exactly how it works. The state advertises usually once a year for a position of police officer. City residents can apply for that position. We'll take a test. Sometime after that test is issued by the state, they'll come up with a list of candidates according to their grade scores. And at that time, we can hire from that list.
So you can't hire a policeman or fire unless they've been approved through that whole civil service system and take the test and been ranked. And if you need 6 people, they tell you based upon that ranking who you can bring in?
Yes, that's correct.
You also have to do a background investigation, thorough background investigation, such as drivers, motor vehicle checks, criminal history checks. And you'll be surprised how many people unfortunately wash out. That's, you know, with minor infractions. That's not within civil service guidelines or police department or fire department guidelines to be able to be on the job.
In other words, if I'm number 1 on the list and I'm bad driving, got a lot of tickets and stuff, you can still cut me out and don't hire me?
Yes, you can.
Okay, that's good.
So anybody,
What's the age cutoff?
35.
35.
so anybody with a criminal background need not even take that test.
They can take the test, but however, they can pass the test, but when the police department runs a criminal history, or the fire department checks on them,
I get it, it doesn't, yeah.
I don't think they'll be hired. I'm certainly not going to hire them.
And just on another note, you came to us from Union County setup, and you've been in that Union County a long time. Are you enjoying Plainfield so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you think you're doing a relatively good job here?
I think as a team we are. I don't think it's just me. I think as a team we're starting to come together and do a good job.
Good. You know, I was in Orange and they kept saying, "Oh, Mr. Reed, you're doing a good job." I said, no, we are, and that's exactly what you're saying now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're trying to do a good job.
Correct.
We appreciate that. Are there any other comments or questions or information that we didn't bring out regarding these budgets? Now, this doesn't mean that your budget is approved. Okay? And we'll be looking at it in the future. Yes, Ms. Reeves?
I just had a question for the fire division. For the overtime pay that you are estimating for 2014, does that include fire education at all?
Education.
Education, does it include education at all?
There is a line item for education, for
Okay.
training.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's say this. I'd like to see the police department reduce their budget a little bit more, and of course the fire department reduce theirs, and see if we can get more grants. I think that a few things has been done as it relates to both divisions. You guys do get grants. Hopefully, the administration will assist in writing those grants. I know they're hard to do sometimes. However, we need those fire stations. I was pleased to hear you're working on it. We need to replace them. And your equipment that's not working properly. I can say that I observed the fire department a little bit more than the police department. They work very hard, they are on the job, and they apparently do a good job. I've had several cases I've watched that they're extricating people from cars with that, what you call it?
Jaws of life.
Jaws of life, Stopping fires before they get big, that's good. And I don't think you have as much trouble with your public as maybe you guys have. Hopefully not. And the last thing I'd like to comment on, I know that, Mr. Riley, you are in charge overall of the fire and the police. And I'd like to thank you for not accepting that additional salary for director. That helps us a lot. But if you still add your $2 amounts together, taxpayers, or the money they pay, about every 50 cent, 51 I think it is, go to support you guys. We like that, and keep the game thing down. That happened under the previous mayor, and I have to give all you guys credit that was here for helping. We need to recognize that and keep doing it. I think we do need to get some educational things out and use our television station that we have to insist that our citizens do their part. I've often said, we don't need the street sweepers. We don't need certain things in the city that we can do as citizens to help. So if you could think of ideas and turn it over to the media people to, boom, broadcast it. We get more comments on our broadcast. And I've recently regenerated my interest in Sade because of the system. I thank each of you. I don't know if any other questions I have at the moment. Anyone else from the public? You like to say something, sir? You're not really the public. You're one of the staff. You're the budget guy. Is this satisfactory to you?
I think it's more than satisfactory. We've worked together on this for weeks now, so.
Yes, sir. And you're the one that have to, you got the whip in your office, I noticed on the, you took it down? Okay. You have any comments, Mr. Snyder?
No, sir.
Okay.
You covered it for us.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, folks? I grew up in Plainfield, New Jersey.
You got to give your name and
I
address.
apologize. My name is Frank Moffitt. I grew up in Plainfield. Came to Plainfield in 1961, and I ain't never really left.
You didn't?
I had never really left.
Okay.
My subjective thought to the police department, to the director of both departments, a lot of the youth, in my opinion, a lot of the youth are getting swayed over, you know, to the street life or the street way of thinking. And the reason I feel as though they're getting swayed over, because I feel as though the police department and the fire department should have a day that, you know, you can bring kids there and learn about the fire truck. You know what I'm saying? You can learn about the police department. You know, because a lot of kids, you know, when they get out of school, not all of them go to the youth place. You know, back in the day we had several community centers. You know, I got involved with boxing. I was a counselor at the teen center, Grand Community Center. I'm not going to say that. I just go the wrong way, you know, because I made mistakes because I'm human. I made mistakes. However, being that I reached the age of 59, people told me I'd never get there. That's their opinion, you know. I feel as though that with the children today, in 2014, that simply we have a president that happened to be black, that we should let all our children know the deal. You don't have to go that bad route. You can't be officer of the law. Because when I was really small, I wanted to be a cop, you know? And the reason I wanted to be a cop was because I watched cartoons. They had cop shows, you know? Yeah, that's why I came from cartoons. Yeah. And I still watch them today with my niece and nephew. And I feel as though that if you had something where the kids could come to and see a cop they ain't gotta look at a gun in a bad way, they gonna look at it in a good way. Because most movies that show guns, it don't show taking life. It don't show, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna talk. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand. And you're correct. And let me just say this, if I may cut you off for half a second. We have block parties. My block is 104 St. Mark's Place. And I don't know if we can have it now because 6 houses is empty now. However, the police sent people up as well as the fire department, and they did address a lot of the issues. The captain just gave us a demonstration from his point of view on what they're doing there. I'm sure that the police. I get a call from PAL every year, and I was told they're not doing anything in Plainfield anymore, but that's a good vehicle to do just what you said, and I agree with you. We start putting the idea in their head that they can be a loyal person or a fire person, but they have to keep what I call keep that nose clean, stay away from the activities that may get them into problems.
Yeah, I agree with your conversation.
Thank you.
You know, as a grown adult, and young people gotta have become a grown man, you know what I mean? As a grown man, when I see our community being divided, you know? The have not, I see that. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if you wear a tie, you still go to bathroom around them. You know? You can have the tie on the white collar shirt, that doesn't mean you go to bathroom any different than I do.
Thanks.
And I know as a human being that I have my fault. And if one of y'all sitting in this room is perfect, please raise your hand. But due to the fact that I know that we're all the same, we need to make sure our children know. Just because Miss So-and-so and them own their house, and y'all family rent or on welfare, doesn't make you any different. You know, because see, that is what I've noticed more and more, that the people of y'all were affluent to position, you know, always want to give their kids more. And people who are down on the lower level don't have it to give. You know, and at the same time, I feel that the society as a whole, and Jesus said you put it together, not apart.
Thank you. Any other activities or questions? And we finish, what, 30 minutes soon? If I may, I call for an adjournment. Happy Easter. Thank you. Happy Easter and all of that. I'll be around for my Easter. Thanks again. I'll see you on the 22nd.
Yes, well. Yeah, so I.